What does it really take to get the most powerful people on Earth to reveal one of the biggest secrets in history? Well, we're about to dive into an absolutely incredible story documented through one man's private archive that details a 30-year mission to force UFO disclosure and the shadowy forces he claims were fighting him every single step of the way.
This one quote from the man at the center of this story really just says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly captures this journey that starts with, this incredible idealism and real high-level access, only to slam right into a powerful, hidden wall of opposition. So what was the mission exactly? Well, starting back in the early 1990s, the goal was audacious, to say the least. The plan was to use a massive private collection of evidence and witness testimony to brief the world's leaders, the real decision makers, and finally convince them to just disclose what they knew about UFOs. And look, this whole story isn't just based on rumor or hearsay. The foundation for all these claims is a massive paper trail, a private archive packed with letters, memos, and official communications that supposedly documents the entire 30-year effort. Okay, so if you're going to make disclosure happen, you need to get into the inner circle, right? You have to get this information to the people who can actually do something about it. And according to this archive, the level of access they got was, well, it was stunning. I mean, this effort went straight to the very top. The archive has copies of letters and briefing materials that were sent directly to President Bill Clinton. The goal was to get the executive branch itself to take action. And it wasn't just the White House. The archive describes a multi-hour briefing with the sitting director of the CIA, James Woolsey. Think about that. The evidence was presented right in the heart of the intelligence community. They didn't stop there either. The effort went international. There were meetings and correspondence with the Office of UN Secretary General Boutros Boutros-Ghali. They were really trying to make this a global issue.
The outreach even went as far as the British royal family. Briefing dossiers were delivered for Prince Charles, who was known to have a pretty serious interest in the subject. So they had access to the most powerful offices on Earth. Which begs the question, why didn't it work? And that's where the story takes a really dark turn. So yeah, despite all this incredible high-level access, disclosure just didn't happen. And the narrative in the archive points to one big reason: a sophisticated, covert counterintelligence campaign launched from the shadows to sabotage the entire effort. I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? You have the ear of the most powerful people on the planet. So what went wrong? Well, the documents point to a specific battleground known as the Rockefeller Initiative. See, the philanthropist Lawrence Rockefeller was a sincere and very powerful ally. He was using his name, his influence, his money to help. But the archive alleges that his goodwill made him a target and that his inner circle had been compromised by covert operatives. The archive lays out what it claims was a 4-step playbook. Step 1. Infiltrate Rockefeller's team. Step 2. Divert all his funding and attention towards controlled narratives, what the documents call abduction cults. Step 3. Isolate the original researchers and push them out. And the final step? Steal their intellectual property and use it to control the public story. But what happens when that kind of infiltration and sabotage just isn't enough? Well, the archive claims the opposition turned to something way more direct, a wall of threats aimed at some of the most powerful people in the country. So what do you think happens when someone who should be in the loop tries to get access? The archive tells this chilling story about Senator Barry Goldwater. Now, Goldwater was no lightweight. This guy was a presidential nominee, a senior senator on key committees, and a general in the Air Force Reserve. He went to his good friend, the legendary Air Force Chief of Staff Curtis LeMay, and asked for access to a rumored secret hangar. LeMay's alleged response wasn't just a simple no. It was a direct, shocking threat to his friend, a sitting United States senator. This moment, as documented in the source, perfectly illustrates the extreme off-the-books secrecy we're talking about here. And this brings us to a really key concept from the archive: the inverse witness. The idea is, when someone as powerful as Senator Goldwater is threatened and denied access, that denial itself is proof that the program he's asking about is operating illegally, totally off the books and outside the normal chain of command. And this apparently wasn't just the one-off incident. The documents also describe how Prince Albert of Monaco, after he showed interest in funding some related technologies, was allegedly visited by intelligence officials and threatened with a whole dossier of personal scandals if he didn't back off. So all of this, the infiltration, the sabotage, the threats, it all leads us to the final and most explosive claim in this entire archive. It's an allegation about the opposition's ultimate deception, a plan designed not just to keep things secret, but to control the future. The story goes like this. In 1989, a high-level group including President George H.W. Bush and the UN Secretary General was on the verge of disclosure. They were right there, but a rival faction, deep inside the secret-keeping group, allegedly took extreme measures to stop them. The public story that circulated was that the UN Secretary General had been abducted by aliens, but the archives claim it was a sophisticated piece of military theater, using advanced man-made craft to fake an alien abduction. And the whole purpose of the staged event was to deliver a terrifying message, a direct threat, supposedly from the aliens, warning that they would abduct every single world leader involved if the disclosure plan went forward. That message, passed on to President Bush, allegedly killed the entire initiative on the spot. And this is the ultimate argument presented in the archive, that the decades of secrecy aren't just about hiding crashed ships. It's all allegedly protected by a massive psychological operation, one designed to eventually stage a fake alien threat to the entire world. And that leaves us with one final and really deeply unsettling question. If this narrative is to be believed, the most important mystery might not be what's in our skies, but rather who, down here on Earth, has the technology and the motive to fake an alien invasion.